Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? Hope you had lots of dreams this morning. I know that I had a couple that I'm going to be meditating on later today, just kind of mulling through it, trying to figure out what it means, though I have a good idea. So anyway, thank you so much for joining this morning. And if you have any dreams you'd like interpreted, I just ask that you join our dream interpretation group. It's in the link. If you know anybody who's a dreamer, who's into this kind of stuff, if you want to share this video or any of the other videos on my timeline, I'm in the midst of doing 30 days of lives, Facebook Lives, every day at 7 a.m. I'm on day 8. And today we're talking about hearing strange sounds at night. And if you've been watching my videos, you know I'm in a different place today. Nathan's working, Eden's sleeping. Let's hope she gives me 10 minutes. So I'm in our prayer room. And just in case she wakes up, she can find me. Usually I'm outside on the porch because I don't think she'll look for me there. It's not a typical place for mommy to be. So anyway, the subject today, hearing strange sounds at night. And I'm not talking about like ghosts and like you're sleeping and like there's a poltergeist or some type of ghost in your house. You know, that's something totally different. Like I don't even study that or get into any of that. I have no like draw towards that or heart toward any of that demonic type fearful stuff. I'm talking about legitimately hearing in the spirit realm, hearing the voice of the Lord. And I wanted to share a couple of stories with you. One, an occurrence for me, just kind of how I don't want to say goofed it up, but you know, we're all in a learning process. But this one time I was sleeping and it was early in the morning, and I heard this, what I believed was, well, at the time I heard a bring bring, which to me represents a bicycle. You know, if you were a kid and you had a bicycle ringer on your bicycle, it sounded like bring bring, and I woke up to that, and I remember the dog stirred too, and I thought, it's really odd. What is this? You know, and got up, looked around. I didn't have a child at the time, so it's not like it was some toy that I didn't know made a noise. Just nothing around, just quiet morning. Went back to bed, slept a little bit longer, heard the bring bring, woke up. Dog's ears are up. I know the dog hears it, and this is where it starts to scare me because I'm like, wait a minute, I hear it. The dog hears it. I don't know where it's coming from, and I got scared. And I just was like, Jesus, help me. Like, what is this weirdness? And I went back to sleep. Now, starting to think about that later on after that experience, I realized that there is a story in I wrote it down on my computer here, 1 Samuel 3, about Samuel and Eli. And if you remember, Samuel was sleeping. You know, as a young boy, he's sleeping in the room with the Ark of the Covenant, and he's being woken up by the voice of God, but he doesn't know it. He wakes up, he goes to Eli and says, "Are you calling me?" And each time Eli says no. And then eventually Eli says, "Wait a minute, that's the voice of the Lord. Next time you hear it, say, 'Here I am, Lord.'" And so that's exactly what Samuel did. And then the Lord spoke to him. And so, you know, when I think about a doorbell or, back to the bicycle ring for me, what I realized about several weeks later, somebody came to my house, and the way my house was at the time, I had a screened-in porch with a locked door and then another door. In that door, my house was built in 1926, so that was the original door. There was a built-in doorbell, and when my friend, you know, I opened the door, let her in, she saw that doorbell and she hit it, and it went bring bring, and it reminded me of that experience. And I said, "What is that?" And she goes, "Oh, it must be your doorbell." And I just couldn't believe it. Like, you know, it was the doorbell that was ringing, and a doorbell would represent like a summons, like, "Hey, I want to come in, I want to talk to you." And so, you know, looking back on that experience where I heard that bring, I mean, you have to hit it pretty hard. It's not like the wind came and I heard the little noise. You know, it literally physically rang in that experience that I had. And I just thought, oh, God, if you come ring my doorbell again, I promise I'll say, "Here I am." It didn't happen again. But so I've always felt like I missed an opportunity there. Second situation I had And that wasn't necessarily a dream, but it happened when I was sleeping. The next situation I had was during a dream, and in this experience, I'm dreaming, and there's this, I know that something huge is coming, and I don't know what it is, but I know it's good. I know I'm terrified, and I'm excited, and I want it to come. And so in the dream, it's very vivid and very real, and it's almost like I felt like it was a wave that was coming, but I wasn't near the water. However, I knew in the dream that I needed to get in position. I needed to get in position. I needed to brace for when, I needed to get ready for when this greatness, this massive wave or this thing came. And so I did, and what I recognized is there were a lot of people that had no clue. There are a lot of people that asked me, what are you doing? And some people that didn't even care, didn't even notice. And the rumbling and the shaking that was going on before this great thing came. And in the dream, I remember thinking, is this the Lord? Like, is he coming? Is this a wave of him coming? Is this the new thing that's coming? And I woke up to the sound of thunder. And some people would say, oh, well, the dream was just based off, you heard what was going on in the environment and then you were dreaming it. And I think that can happen. But in this case, I felt like it was what was going on in the spirit realm. There was a manifestation in the natural realm, which was this big storm. And because right in that time period, I remember talking to friends who are having a lot of similar type experiences or crazy dreams. Even my husband had some things. And I want to say it was right around the time where Bob Jones passed away, about 4 years ago or so. But, so those are just two examples. And I want to share one thing that doesn't have another story that doesn't have anything to do with me per se or anybody that I know, but I was watching this Graham Cook video, and Graham Cook is a great storyteller. So I'm going to just tell the story quickly, but if you want to hear the story, if you Google or if you go into YouTube and you put in Graham Cook Strange Voices, I think, it'll come up. But the story is that there was a man and his wife, and the wife was on fire for the Lord, and the man believed in God and was going to church and was tithing and doing all the things that a Christian would do, but was really involved in his business. And what ended up happening is one day, and he was very a methodical person. He went to the coffee shop, did the same things every day. One day, he went to the same coffee shop at the same time to get his coffee, and he heard weeping and wailing. And he said, what in the world is that? He started asking people, do you hear that? Nobody heard it. Went on with this day. This went on for a period of a couple days until one day he had a thought. And in the thought, he thought, why don't I ask God, like, what is this? And so he did. And God said, it's the weeping and wailing of all the souls in this community, the grieving and the weeping. And he said in that moment, it was like his heart opened up and he just started weeping and moaning and crying for the community. Couldn't even go to work, went home, couldn't even tell anybody what was going on, couldn't even talk, went home, called in the office, said he couldn't come to work. Next day, he tells us he couldn't even explain to his wife what happened, and he prayed. He said, Lord, this is you. You will let my wife experience the same thing. So he took her back on the way to work, stopped at the coffee shop, and she said, hey, do you hear that? And he said, hear what? And she said, it sounds like weeping. And he said, really? He said, well, why don't you ask the Lord what it is? And so she did. And the Lord said to her, it's the weeping and the wailing of the souls in this community. And then she started weeping and moaning. And so what goes on, what then happens in the story is that they sold their house, they sold their business, and they moved to that community, and they started a ministry for those people that were weeping and wailing in that community. And, you think about that and you go, man, what are the things that I'm missing during the day because I'm too busy that maybe God is trying to say? And the other thing is what things am I actually hearing anyways that I'm not even asking God about it. I'm dismissing it, or I'm making a judgment about it quickly without asking him. And so, today I just want to encourage you that one, God can speak to you where you can audibly hear, or he can summon you through a doorbell. He can speak to you through weeping and wailing that nobody else is hearing. I mean, those people literally got their call by just doing their everyday life, and the husband happened to say, Lord, what are you doing? So, again, my encouragement to you today, anything in your life, whether it's dreams, you wake up and you say, God, what are you saying through this dream? Or whether it's you hear something or you sense something, or just anything in everyday life that happens, just remember to, if you don't know, before you make a quick judgment, just say, Lord, what are you doing? What are you saying? How can I partner with you today? So I'm going to close out with that today, and I just want to say that if you've had any experiences where you've heard things, either at night, during the day, anytime, I'd love to hear your story, because I find this stuff so fascinating. I feel like it's hearing from heaven, and if we just leave ourselves open to Holy Spirit and say, Lord, I want to hear what you're saying, then we know that if we ask him, he's not going to give us a stone. He'll give us bread, because he's a good father. So anyway, thank you for listening, and hope to see you tomorrow at 7 a.m. Have a great Monday. Bye.